following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Look, you want the truth? Okay, then listen in. My first link.
This is the Listen In Podcast with your hosts, John Cimino and Brandon Garrell, here on the Gear Radio Network.
Wild Card Weekend is over, my babies, and I'm going to try not to sound too loud because my babies are sleeping in the bedrooms here at Studio A. But how's it going, everybody? My name is John Cimino. Welcome to the Listen In Podcast. Joined, as always, by my esteemed colleague, Mr. Brandon Garrell. Brandon, say hello.
Heyo.
Heyo. And, of course, you are listening to us on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Radio.com. You can find us anywhere, baby. And Pandora listeners, you guys are awesome. I wonder if they figured out that some of these other apps that I promote as well don't play the commercials that I sell to Spreaker. But I don't know, whatever. Who cares? You're listening, and I appreciate that. On today's show, the Wild Card Weekend, Brandon, it was wild, to say the very least. We're going to talk a little bit about that. The divisional round is set. We're going to make our predictions like we did last week. I sucked, and it was 0-4.
Yeah. I mean, you would have been 1-4 too, or 1-3 as well, had you just decided not to go for argument's sake, not to have all the same ones.
Yeah,
you get unlucky. That was the one that actually was wrong. So
yeah. Well, I was bound to be wrong with one of them. So, and Tom Brady, he is not retiring. That he made official on his Instagram today. But where will he wind up? We'll hit up a little bit about that later on. But Brandon, my man, 2 weeks in a row for the first time in like 2 months. How the hell is it going, man?
Oh, it's going, man. I'm getting excited. The weekend's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that sucks is we are the last game of playoff weekend, 6:40 Eastern time, Green Bay, Seattle from Lambeau Field. That's the one I'm most excited for.
I imagine.
Did not expect it to be Seattle. Was definitely preparing to be facing the Saints this week. And
yes,
they shit the bed.
Oh, they sure did. I guess we could start talking about that one first there.
It's been kind of happening to Drew Brees lately. I don't know what it is.
Oh, well, I think that's kind of where I'm gonna go with, maybe not necessarily Brees himself, but the Saints themselves, man. Like, the last 3 years have been heartbreakers. 2 of those 3 years to Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, the first one was brutal.
The Vikings 26, the Saints 20 in overtime. The question I have for you, Brandon, are the Saints cursed again?
I don't know. I don't know if it's cursed. I don't know, man. I think that some coaches are really good regular season coaches, and then they get to the postseason and then they overcoach.
Mm.
I think Andy Reid has been guilty of that in the past, where he just, kind of outsmarts himself, gets away from what's working. I mean, the thing that New Orleans had been doing all year long, and they had great success with it, was getting the ball to Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas, people were doubling him. They knew it was going only to Michael Thomas. And yet, they still couldn't stop it. But for some reason, against the Vikings, I mean, I just don't know what happened. I mean, they've got Taysom Hill throwing passes, and, you've got weird reverses and stuff. I mean, he only had 8 targets. I mean, how does the guy that is the most dangerous guy in the league, how do you only target him 8 times? I just don't get it. And they weren't really long plays. I mean, that's something that they've also been really good with is throwing deep balls. The one that they did target him for that was really long that he didn't catch because he was 7 for 70 on 8 targets was the interception he threw before the half. So I don't know, man. The Vikings, they're not that good a team. I mean, they've been falling apart lately. I mean, Kirk Cousins, he was 19 of 31 for 242 yards and a touchdown, and he's running in the back again with his, you like that shit.
Yeah,
he really didn't do much. Adam Thielen had 7 catches for 129 yards. I mean, that was like most of his production came from that one dude. He wasn't that spectacular, especially not the amount of money he's been paying him. And then I keep hearing all this, he's been redeemed. He can win the big game. I'm like, let's not go that far. Like,
exactly.
They won in overtime. They almost blew a pretty big lead. They did blow it to go to overtime. They got the ball. New Orleans defense couldn't stop them. And that's something that's been kind of a worry for New Orleans as they came in the postseason, is that their defense was not, it wasn't very strong. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't very strong. But they had a good front four that could get pressure on Cousins, and they only got him 2 times. They only sacked him 2 times, pressured him a few times too. But they got diced up by. They didn't even really get diced up by Delvin Cook. I mean, he had 28 carries for 94 yards. Yeah, 22 of them came on 1.
He wasn't the Dalvin Cook from the championship-winning Rochester Royals in the WNYFL, that's for sure.
Not at all.
Although, I mean, 28 carries, 94 yards, he did have 2 touchdowns, too.
Because they were little punch-ins. I mean, they got down in the end zone.
There were still 2 touchdowns.
There's still 2 touchdowns, but, I mean, Josh Allen caught a touchdown. So, I mean,
right.
I don't really buy a lot of stock into running back touchdowns. I mean, you get the ball in there and you punch it in from the 1-yard line. I mean, doesn't take that much skill and talent. I mean, 98 yards on that or 94 yards on 28 carries. That's only like a 3 yards per run average. That's not very good. He had a 5-yard touchdown run and a 1-yard touchdown run.
All right, that's fair. Now here's something that the Saints are going to have to deal with now. Besides their early exit or their exiting in the manner that they did this year.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 Saints quarterbacks are set to be free agents. That's Drew Brees, backup, Teddy Bridgewater, and third stringer Taysom Hill. Now, Taysom Hill made an appearance in this game.
Yeah.
He was 1 for 1 for 50 yards, and then he was also 4 attempts on the ground for 50 yards, no touchdowns. But apparently, Taysom Hill is somebody that is really highly valued with the New Orleans Saints. Again, all 3 are set to be free agents. So the question I have for you is, will Drew Brees be back? I don't believe Teddy Bridgewater is coming back to New Orleans. I think he's going to get a starting gig somewhere. But Drew Brees, will he be back?
Drew Brees will be back, and I think that Teddy Bridgewater will too. There's no team where he's going to start. Most of these teams that really need a starting quarterback right now
that are going to have free agent quarterback. I mean, I think of Tennessee as well. Both of their quarterbacks are going to be.
But they're going to re-sign Tannehill.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
Tannehill's going to stay with them. So Mariota's going to be a free agent. Mariota's probably a better quarterback than Bridgewater at this point in his career. Then you've got Phillip Rivers is going to be a free agent. Tom Brady's going to be a free agent. I mean, I don't see Teddy Bridgewater supplanting any of those guys if they're looking for jobs. And the only team that I can see that may look towards getting a quarterback this year, and they don't really have a great draft position, is Jacksonville. But what are they going to do with all that money they give to Nick Foles? So I don't see where Teddy Bridgewater is going to go and start. He's not going to go start in Miami because Miami's going to draft a quarterback.
Right.
He's not going to start in Washington because Washington's most likely going to draft a quarterback. It's a very quarterback-heavy draft this year with Burrow, Tagovailoa. I want to say Tua, and then
Tagovailoa.
Tagovailoa.
I just learned it because I was doing Trust the Podcast. Apparently, Ryan had spent time trying to pronounce his name and wrote out actually how it sounds. So he could practice how to say it properly. So when I botched it on Trust the Podcast, he corrected me.
I don't know there's no N in this last name. So where does that N sound come?
Tagovailoa.
How does that have an N in it though?
I don't know. It's some. I don't know.
Tagovailoa.
Tagovailoa. Maybe it's just
me. Maybe it's
my Spanglish. Maybe it's just.
But I mean, they've got Justin Herbert in there. Eason's in there, Jake Fromm. Like, there's some good quarterbacks that are going to come out this year's draft. And I just don't see somebody spending a bunch of money on Teddy Bridgewater after drafting like a high draft pick. Like, you're gonna give starter money to Teddy Bridgewater to come start on your team for 1 year and then have your rookie quarterback end up being the guy. True. Like after that, or I just can't see it, and I don't think he's gonna go. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna go somewhere else unless he's guaranteed like a big contract and to start. And I just don't see a team that he's gonna start for.
All right, that makes sense there. Let's move on to a different game, more close to home here. The Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans. Despite the strange fourth quarter that was, quite the game to watch. Houston defeats Buffalo 22-19 in overtime. Brandon, I ask, did the Texans win or did the Bills lose? And I don't mean in the Booger McFarland way where the Texans scored more. So that means they won. Or did the Bills do more to lose this game than the Texans did to win?
That's a yes. That's a yes for both.
This is a tale of this because this game was a tale of two Buffalo Bills teams, first half and second half.
And it's a tale of two Texans teams too.
Exactly.
JJ Watt got it going. Watson got it going with Hopkins. So I think it could be said for both. I think Buffalo didn't help themselves to close out that game. I think that's something that a young team, a young quarterback, and a young coach have to learn is how to close out a win on the road. Because especially in the playoffs, teams are playing for desperation. Like, they don't want to go home, especially in front of their home crowd. You're on the road. Your job is to be aggressive and to keep that in there and keep hammering on this team. They had numerous situations where they decided to go kind of conservative. And I think that's what more than anything came back to bite them in the ass. There was a drive when they were up, I want to say, I think it was when it was 16-0. They had a drive. They were down to, I think, the 43-yard line, and it ended up being 4th and 4. And instead of going for it, they took a delay of game penalty and punted it.
Right. Yes.
Why? I don't understand why you don't go for 3 yards. It's 3 yards in the NFL. If you're in the playoffs and you don't have enough belief in your team to get 3 yards on that side of the field, especially the way your defense has been playing, I just don't understand, that's coaching not to lose. That's not coaching to win. That's coaching not to lose. And I think that just was the start of the spiral.
Right. And that same token too, there was a play where it was 4th and 24. Yeah. Where the Bills had 3 timeouts left, and rather than punting the ball like they probably should have at that point and gone back to their defense, whom has carried that, for all intents and purposes, carried that team the entire season, with 3 timeouts left, they end up sending Josh Allen, who at that point was struggling like crazy, to go out there and try and convert a 4th and 24. Like, that was a stupid move, I think, a stupid coaching move.
Yeah,
and that's where Josh Allen
you go for it on that one. Yeah, you go for it on that one, but you don't go for it on 4th and 3. Like,
right. So there was definitely some
some
big coaching blunders that happened there. Josh Allen, 24-46, 264 yards, 0 passing touchdowns. However, he did catch a 16-yard touchdown reception from John Brown. That passing touchdown from wide receiver John Brown to quarterback Josh Allen was the only offensive touchdown. The only touchdown, as a matter of fact, the Buffalo scored all game. Money man Steven Hauschka was 4-4 on field goals, kicked from 40, 38, and 47 with 5 seconds remaining in the game. That's
also a problem too. On two of those drives that they got field goals, they dropped touchdowns in the end zone.
Yes.
So, or I should say one, they dropped the touchdown. The other one, they dropped the first down. So, that's another part of that loss too, is the fact that they were only able to get 4 field goals out of 5 trips that went inside the 30. Like, you cannot do that and expect to win. I don't care how good your defense is. I mean, if you're only getting 12 points, they got to score 2 touchdowns and then they're ahead of you now. Like, that's not, the Bills made so many mistakes, and I've been hearing all week, like, the conspiracy theories and, that should have been a touchdown on the opening play. I don't give a shit. You had a 16-0 lead with 1:30 still left in the third quarter, and you lost that game in overtime. You also possessed the ball in overtime, and they're like, "Whoa, we had that blindside block call." Right, you had a blindside block call, but what are you doing in overtime? Why are you in overtime if you had a 16-0 lead? You had a 16-0 lead, and on top of that, you were down. Like, you got down 19-16 and had to rally miraculously to get a field goal to tie the game.
Right.
Like, I just don't understand how you can put all that stuff on the refs.
Well, that's the thing, and it's funny you mention that, because annoying. I went on quite literally an 8.5 minute rant on Trust the Podcast on those Bills fans. Not the mafia as a whole, because there are some, there's a very, very large portion of the mafia that know football and understand it. But there is like this, I feel like there's this new wave of Bills fans that may have realized that they may have known that they had a team before, but then they were very, very, very close to losing it. And then in come the Pagulas and they save the team, and it's like, oh, hey, we have a team now. Look at us, Buffalo, go, go. I don't know anything about football, but I know we have a team, and football's king in this land. Yay. And then they don't understand it, and they think it's, to say it's asinine that anybody says with a serious face, legitimately believes that of all the teams the National Football League wants to hold down, the Buffalo Bills are that team.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know.
And still to this day,
it's the lowest hanging fruit, man.
I threw this on Trust the Podcast. I gave my Twitter handle at IamJCMoney, and I said, don't throw this on Ryan. Don't throw this on Gear Network. Send it to me. But members of the mafia that absolutely believe this, please at me at Twitter and let me know how the hell this conspiracy theory started, because I have no effing clue. So I'll even do it here on Listen In. But
it started back with Thurman Thomas's missing helmet. That's when the league started tampering with the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, so that was the missing helmet. Find the helmet. Find the helmet, and you'll find
the Declaration of Independence. It's like National Treasure. Let's get Nick Cage on the Bills Mafia conspiracy.
Perfect. All right, moving on to the next one, the big one, but not too surprising. I think you and I both mentioned last week on the podcast that we would not be surprised if Tennessee won this game.
Yeah.
But they won this game 20-13 behind really the legs of Derrick Henry. 34 for 182 yards, 1 touchdown. He averaged 5.4 yards per carry. Tannehill, they didn't really do the passing game, but I guess they really didn't need him to. He was only 8 of 15, 72 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It was Derrick Henry versus the world. And whatever they drew up, it worked. Tennessee defeats New England 20-13. Now, that aside, we kind of had an idea that the Patriots were kind of on the balling. They just didn't have anybody on offense around Tom Brady. I wonder how much gas they had in the tank. I mean, 3 straight Super Bowl appearances. Yes.
They're an outdoor team. They're an older team. You got to wonder, just how many things were working against them at that point. Lack of talent on the offensive side of the ball, banged up line, Brady being older, the defense having to carry the load all season. You just had to figure at some point that, that wagon's got to break down. I mean, 3 straight Super Bowls. I mean, just that's insane. I don't know. I think that Father Time is undefeated, and sometimes you just kind of and I just didn't think that the Patriots front office did enough to put people around Brady on the offensive side of the ball. The defense, they did a real good job building, but they didn't balance it. It was top heavy, and Brady is not a young kid who can carry them back like he did in the early Super Bowl run. He's older now, so you got to kind of surround him with talent. They tried. They got Antonio Brown for a week, and then he went Antonio Brown and got cut.
Right.
But I mean, honestly, I think that they showed really how much they miss Gronk this year.
Yes, absolutely.
He was a huge missing piece. They never replaced it.
I really feel, though, as I look at the team stats here, New England had Tennessee in total yards, passing yards for sure. Obviously, Brady had 209 yards and Tannehill only 71. It was all Derrick Henry. It really was. 201 rushing yards to New England's measly 98.
Right, and he grinded it out on the ground. I mean, that's what you do. You keep the ball away from Brady, and then guess what? You're going to win games that way.
That was all that they needed to do. So now we know right now that Brady said he is not retiring.
Right.
But coming into the day, his future in New England is or was in some serious doubt. So, Brandon, where do you think Tom Brady winds up next year?
He's going to go back to New England. I think that this is a neat story for everyone to, fawn about and write stories about, and dream up all these, scenarios and get all these fan bases all excited for. He's not going anywhere. He will leave the Patriots when he's ready to leave the Patriots. I don't see the Patriots going, Tom, it's been great. You gave us 9 Super Bowl trips, 6 Super Bowl championships, but we're going to go a different direction. They're going to let him leave on his own terms. Bob Kraft wants him back. Bob Kraft signs the checks. If Bob Kraft wants him back, Tom's coming back. I don't see Tom leaving the AFC East and leaving the Patriots on the note that he left them on. He's going to be back next year. I think that they're going to reload on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that they're going to probably be right back in the thick of things. So I know Bills fans are excited. They think that the tide is turning and, Brady's getting old, but I still think they have another run or two left in him. I don't think he's going anywhere right now. So I saw a thing with a picture of him in a an LA Chargers uniform. I was like, he's not going to LA.
Yeah, I don't think he's going. I don't think he's going to LA. You're right. I don't think he's going anywhere. If he were to go anywhere, it'd be hilarious to see him as a Colt, honestly. But
he's not going to the Colts either.
If he were
not
to
go to the 49ers, and he's not going to take Jimmy G's job again. And these are all just ridiculous scenarios. He's not going anywhere. He's staying with New England. New England will draft a quarterback this year. That's
I'm sure.
But he's going to sit for a year.
They're going to have to. Yeah, they're absolutely going to have to. But I don't know. I don't think this is your dad's Patriots anymore. You know what I mean? I don't think this is. I
don't think they're your Patriots anymore.
Well, yeah, true.
I mean, it's not that long ago.
I don't
Super Bowl last year.
I don't think that. I will say I think Brady comes back. I think he comes back to New England, but unless they are willing to break the bank and spend money, I don't see them being the dominant. Nobody was scared of them this year. And maybe that might.
I think early on people were scared of them because you remember they were running up the score on everybody. Early in the year, their defense was giving up like nothing per game.
Yeah,
I think remember they gave up like a touchdown in the first 5 weeks.
Right. Yes, and I remember reading off a stat that said that this team is on pace for everything. You're like, yeah, but look at the quality of opponents that they're playing the first 4 or 5 games. Wait until they start getting into the later part of the season. Let's see what happens. And then, and for being Nostradamus, Brandon, you were pretty spot on.
I was, but the thing is that it wasn't the defensive side of the ball that suffered. It was the offensive side. Mm-hmm. Defense was still doing its thing. Like the defense was still top tier defense. It's just that the offense could not get anything going. Their running game suffered significantly this year. Like that's a big part of New England's game too, is that they have a good running game and it didn't matter who got the ball. Like it was frustrating being like a fantasy owner of a New England running back because 1 week, Sony Michel is going to get a bunch of yards and like all the touchdowns. And then the next week you put him in your lineup and then it's like, oh, Rex Burke had 3 touchdowns and 7 yards. Like it was so frustrating with New England, but you never knew who was getting the ball. And this year they just did not generate that running game. So I really think that the biggest problem was the offensive line and the run game this year for the Patriots. I mean, Tom Brady can throw the ball just about anybody. I think what was the biggest part and the hardest part was the fact that they just could not get anything going on the ground to play off of and to be able to throw those passes off of. And it was tough for them to do anything. So I think that they'll address that side of the ball. They'll bring back Brady. But I don't know. I hesitate to say, yeah, their days are over. I don't know. I can't go there. I don't think that
I don't think their days are over, but I think it's going to be a little, I think
a lot of people are celebrating that it is.
Well, yeah, but that's mainly, fans of the Bills.
Bills fans were like, oh man, it really sucked that we lost, but I feel so much better that the Patriots lost and our long national nightmare is over. And I'm like, guys, really?
I don't think it's going to be a situation where the Patriots are going to come out right out the gate and 14-2 or 16-0 or something like that. Like I think the playing field is going to be a little bit even now, and I think that a lot of that's attributed to Brady's age and his own limitations.
Well, it depends on what they put around him.
Exactly. All right.
I mean,
and then
their defense yards per game was the number 1 defense in the league again for this year. 272 yards is a game they allowed. So if they're allowing 272 a game for the season, I mean, you should win a lot of games that way. They just weren't.
All right. And then finally, we're going to actually wrap it up, and this will be a very, very quick kind of thoughts on it if we have any. Seattle and Philadelphia. Seattle over Philadelphia 17-9. The only thought that I really have, besides the fact that Josh McCown, for what he could, for what he was capable of doing, really gave it his all, and had Philly close for a good portion of the game. But the hit that took out Carson Wentz, Brandon, that's really the topic of the storyline of that particular game. You got some people saying it wasn't a dirty hit. I personally think it was. What say you?
I think it was. I mean, if you look at the replay, seeing him, he looked right at Wentz going to the ground, and he just put his head down and turned his head and went right towards his head. I don't buy this bullshit that it was accidental. He knew what he was doing.
I didn't like Pete Carroll's "It's football."
I don't like Pete Carroll, period.
Yeah, I know you don't.
I know you don't. That fuck running around in slow motion, chomping on that pink gum, I'm going to fucking gag. I swear to Christ, stop showing the guy I don't need to see him gnawing down on gum. Like, just stop it. Like the NFL, like these camera crews are the worst, man. They show the same things all the time. They show Belichick just hemming and hawing. They show Jason Garrett clapping all over the place. They show Pete Carroll chewing his gum and pumping his fists and and almost crapping his depends. And then, they show Sean Payton and his little perch lips underneath his stupid visor. And it's the same thing every freaking Sunday. It's like, dude, give it a fucking rest. We don't care. I don't need a slow motion replay of Pete Carroll giving a fucking fist pump. Stop it. Stop it, NFL.
Yes.
Listen to me. By the way, that stat I gave you about the yards per game, that was the playoffs. They were 17th in yards per game, but in points per game, they were, what were they? They were not. Baltimore was actually the number one allower of points per game, which is kind of crazy.
Interesting.
But New England was kind of like middle of the pack, 26 a game.
All right, we're gonna head to a commercial here off of that wild card. That's gone. We're gonna take a quick commercial break.
We're on to the next round.
Thank you, Brandon Belichick. We're right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. John Sabino here, Brandon Grell there. And off air, we were just chatting about how great and excited we are about the XFL coming soon. Coming soon, Brandon.
You were excited about it.
Yep.
If you look at your Twitter feed, you can see none.
The Houston bandwagon?
No, listen, I tried the AAF. Kind of sucked. I don't see this being much better. I'm not going to waste my time. Listen, my time is valuable.
Listen, I'm telling you, I still am a XFL team fan free agent right now, but the rules are intriguing. So no. I'm curious to see how it all plays out. But
yeah, I'll see it when the NFL adopts some of those popular rules. I'll watch it with real football.
All right, fair enough. So there was a question that I put up on the Listen In podcast page, which on Facebook, which if you if you're not a part of, you should be. It's facebook.com/listeninpodcast. We post fun things up there, including the XFL championship game from 2001. I just posted that yesterday. But there was a question that I posed that I said asked by a listener that wishes to remain anonymous. And I won't give up the person's name, but his initials are Brennan Guerrero.
Yeah, it was me.
Up there. Why is it that Aaron Rodgers takes all kind of heat for winning one Super Bowl and Drew Brees continues to fail to pick up a second and gets a pass and gets sympathy?
Yeah.
What is
I saw the one response and I was like, nope, not fucking dealing with this. I just ignored the rest of it. Well, it's because Aaron Rodgers comes off as a knob. Okay.
That seems to be the general the general thing.
I don't know where the knob comes from. Like, why? Because he doesn't wink and smile and go, oh, shucks, like Peyton Manning, or, I don't really understand the whole knobness. Like, you don't see him punching kids in the airport or snubbing kids for autographs. You see shit all the time where he's, lighthearted, has fun. I mean, shit. Do you remember the freaking Bucks game where him and Bakhtiari were doing the chugging contest, and he lost badly about it? He was a good sport about it. He had fun about it. He fucking guest stars in Game of Thrones. Like, the guy, I don't understand what people don't like about the guy. It's like, it's because he's successful. He's been widely considered by players and media type to be the best, most talented quarterback in the league. This is America. People don't like successful people. Well, so that's why they don't like Tom Brady.
Here's one perspective that I saw, and it said, and I can see where he's coming from here.
Sure.
But visually, the way that the NFL has visualized this, it seems that Drew Brees has seemingly more misfortune and unlucky circumstances.
And Rodgers doesn't?
I'm not saying that Rodgers doesn't, but let's look at the last 3 years.
No, I don't want to hear about it.
No. Here we go. No, you got to hear me out here.
I hear it. They choked the last 3 years.
Right. But what is the NFL magnifying? Like, they're not making up rules that review a pass interference, which cost the Saints the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? And it was all about
Super Bowl didn't
a
guarantee they're
trip
going to win it.
a trip to the Super Bowl. If you ask somebody in New Orleans, they should have been the champions, but whatever.
Yeah, okay. Should be champion every year.
Trip to the Super Bowl. It wasn't anything about Aaron Rodgers, having to carry his team or being injured or whatever like that. Like it seems like the league themselves, and I agree with Zach here. I feel like the league has painted the Saints under a sympathetic light, whereas the Green Bay Packers, I don't understand why they've sort of.
I don't know.
They just let Aaron Rodgers be Aaron Rodgers, which is fine, and I think that's also part of the problem, is that because they're not highlighting them in the same manner that they are highlighting the Saints and Drew Brees and Sean Payton being together for so long, and they uplifted the city, and it's like this good vibration kind of thing or whatever. Besides Bountygate, I tend to agree that I feel that the reason that for your question here, the reason Brees gets considerably less flack than Aaron Rodgers does is because of the mirror, the visual that the NFL and ESPN and FS1 and all those guys paint of the New Orleans Saints as this kind of sympathetic underdog team. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? That's the way I'm
know how they're underdogs. I mean, they win their division almost every year. They rarely go under double digits in wins each season. They make the playoffs every single year, it seems like. I just don't get it. Like, Aaron Rodgers played in Seattle with a torn calf muscle, with injured players, and his defense fucked up for him. They couldn't recover an onside kick. Guy gets right into his fucking hands, goes right through him. They lose in overtime because they never get the ball because, that great overtime rule, where first score wins, never get the ball. Defense gives up a long touchdown pass. Game over. Rodgers never sees the ball again. Same thing happened in the Arizona wildcard game. Rodgers throws a fucking Hail Mary, gets him to overtime, never gets the ball. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers in the wild card game against Arizona drops back to pass, has his face mask ripped off his fucking face, and the ball fumbles, and then Arizona runs it back for a touchdown to win the game again, missed the call. And then, we get to Atlanta for the NFC Championship game, and Aaron Rodgers is playing with guys who were bagging groceries a week ago as his wide receivers because everyone else is on IR. He's missing 2 of his tackles. And then they go out there and get blown out by the Atlanta Falcons. Where's the sympathy for Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers is playing on a torn calf muscle in Seattle when Seattle's defense was in their prime. And he chalked them up. Green Bay's defense let him down. The special teams let him down. And then the overtime rules let him down because he never got another chance. He went down there hobbling, unable to walk half the fucking game in under a minute and a half to rally his team to get back to a field goal to get him to overtime and never got to see the ball again. Right. But yet Drew Brees has a missed tackle on defense, a missed call, and then this week they just didn't win. I mean, there's nothing sympathetic about this. They didn't win. He didn't perform.
I think I'm looking at it from not a perspective of Aaron Rodgers versus Drew Brees at this point. But I'm going to go back to the painted picture of the two franchises that each of those two individuals represent. When you think of the Green Bay Packers, you think of Lombardi and you think of Starr. You don't think of that stretch in the 70s and 80s because
they were fucking terrible.
When they were terrible, because what's embedded in people's minds as far as the Green Bay Packers are concerned is being one of the original franchises of the dominance in the 50s and the 60s, and then their return to glory in the 90s and being consistent through today. Whereas the Saints have always been painted as the Aints and the people with the bags over their heads and things like that. So they could have all the success that they've had since Hurricane Katrina and Drew Brees' arrival. But it doesn't matter because I think the stigma of the New Orleans Saints is that when Drew Brees is gone, when Sean Payton is gone, they're going to go back to being the Aints. because that's
maybe.
what they were. And I
Maybe.
think
I mean, it's
I think
possible.
that's, and I think just for thinking from a critical thinking perspective, I guess, I don't know, critical thinking in this podcast, who would have thought that course would have come, from college would show its ugly head here. But I think it's more the stigma of the franchises that those two people represent than it is the people themselves. Because I am in agreement with you. I don't think Aaron Rodgers comes off as a snarky prick. He could, because he's that good, but I don't think he does. I think Aaron Rodgers just doesn't give a fuck about. I think he's just a real dude. I don't think I think he just doesn't give a fuck about the stupid stuff, and he enjoys what he enjoys, and that's it. Not like in a Jay Cutler over the top kind of way, but in a more realistic way, where he's just like, okay, yeah, that's cool, good for him.
He answers questions. He's a team guy. This team loves him. I don't get it, man. I'm more just annoyed by the fact that Drew Brees played like dog shit this week. And yeah, it's, poor Drew. Poor Drew. Is he ever going to get that other Super Bowl and solidify his legacy? He's got all the fucking records. Like, give me a fucking break. Why do you have sympathy for this guy? He's got a Super Bowl. It's not Dan Marino. He's got all the passing records. He's still playing at a high level. And yet, it's poor Drew. Aaron Rodgers gets bounced. Oh, yeah, great. Fuck Rodgers. Like, I don't get it. I have zero understanding.
It's the luster. The Packers were the Patriots before the Patriots. That's no matter what happens with the Green Bay Packers, they're always going to associate.
Why did the Steelers not get that? Everyone's like, I love the Steelers, blue collar. Like they have just as many fucking. They have more Super Bowls.
Ben Roethlisberger gets it all the time, justifiably, rightfully deserved. But Ben Roethlisberger got it all the time. Yeah, he got it all the time. People made fun of Tommy Maddox when Tommy Maddox was the starting quarterback for the Steelers because he was an XFL guy. They liked Cordell Stewart. They didn't bother Cordell Stewart much, but then nobody really gave a shit about the Steelers between the Steel Curtain and Bill Cowher.
Sure, they did. Chuck Noll, the 80s.
Chuck Noll,
Bobby Brister. I mean, they were losing to the Bills in the playoffs. Like they were still a playoff team.
Yeah, but still.
They weren't like
with the Steelers. You hear about the Steel Curtain. You hear about Roethlisberger and Santonio Holmes in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't buy that.
It's the luster of the team. The New Orleans Saints historically before Drew Brees were, I mean, even Tampa, who at that time had the only winless season. By the time Drew Brees got to the Saints, even Tampa wasn't viewed as poorly as the Saints were.
Yeah,
I mean that's.
But why? But why? If you've established a winning culture, I mean, it's been a decade. It's been a decade that he's been there. When are you gonna stop giving the free pass? That's what I want to know. He played like shit on Sunday, and yet all I'm hearing is the Saints got robbed again. Possible pass interference in the end zone. What a sad, cruel joke. I'm like, no. The sad, cruel joke is that Drew Brees played like shit. At home. Normally he has those kind of games on the road, which by the way, again, there's something that also can be said about that. Like he's gone on the road and laid complete eggs. He's a darling in the dome, but when he goes on the road,
that's true.
He doesn't do shit. When it's cold out and it's outdoors, against Chicago, against Seattle, he laid an egg and everyone gives him a pass. Aaron Rodgers has a bad game and they're like, he can't play good against top defenses. He only pads his stats against bad teams. I'm like, that's not accurate at all. I mean, he diced up Seattle in that fucking championship game. He diced them up with a torn calf muscle. Mm-hmm. And Seattle was in their prime. There was the Legion of Boom there. Like they were fully healthy, ready to go. They were full of piss and vinegar. And this is the team, Green Bay had them. And their defense and special teams let him down. I mean, we recover an onside kick. He takes 3 knees and we're done. Said they don't. He totally has it go right through his damn hands. And yet that's Aaron Rodgers' fault. He can't win against winning teams. What the fuck do you mean? But Drew Brees loses to a team that's floundering. I mean, their secondary was ripe for the picking. They had a lot of guys out in the secondary, and Drew Brees didn't do shit. So, and again, he gets the pass, and that's what bothers me. It's like, why do some guys get the pass and the other guys get shit on? I don't get it.
let's move on to the divisional games because we are going long, which is cool. But I'm getting tired. I'm not gonna lie.
They're not gonna get another podcast till Super Bowl. Just kidding.
What? We're not gonna do the conference championship next week?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I was gonna say. I mean, Eric Wolf wants to join too. I might have him on. I have an idea for a Super Bowl kind of themed podcast. I'll talk with you off air about it. But anyways, listeners, get excited about it. Get excited, get pumped, folks. But Saturday's games, ladies and gentlemen, the Vikings.
My britches right now.
At the 49ers. No, that's just your vibes for the XFL, man. Vikings at 49ers on NBC. Brandon, who you got?
I got the 49ers. Unfortunately, I would love for Minnesota to win this game and then, Green Bay to win their game and host the championship game at Lambeau.
We are exactly on the same wavelength there.
But I think the 49ers will do it. I saw that, Diggs is ill right now and hasn't been practicing this week. And Adam Thielen hurt his ankle in practice today. Mm-hmm. So, we'll see how it goes. But
Alvin played last week. So, but they still have Kyle Rudolph, and Kirk Cousins is still, I don't know. Whatever.
Didn't they already play him in the season and they get fucking mollywopped?
I think they did. I think
they got mollywhooped.
I'm taking the 49ers as well.
Yeah.
Titans at Ravens, CBS, the following the game following it on Saturday as well. Who you got?
I want to just go ahead and just do the easy. Oh, easily the Ravens. But if the Titans can go with the game plan that they had against the Patriots, where they're going out there and they're just running and grinding and keeping Lamar Jackson off the field, I could see Tennessee winning this game because Baltimore's defense not great. It's good, but it's not great. If they can find a way to keep Lamar Jackson off the field and get him out of rhythm, get on short drives, because Tennessee's defense has been playing pretty well. I can see them upsetting them. I don't know. I think that this is going to be like Lamar Jackson's national coming out party.
I think so too.
I can't see that ending.
Right.
But
I think Baltimore. I'm taking Baltimore as well, not just because of Lamar Jackson, but as well Mark Ingram, because he can turn around and hand it to Mark Ingram, and Ingram's been money for them all year, taking the load off of each other when they have to. So that's kind of a very, very different. And then you've got what's his face, Andrews up the middle, the tight end, which is one of Jackson's favorite targets. At all, I think they're more. I think they're more complete on offense. I know everybody is always looking at Lamar Jackson, and rightfully so. But I think that because they're looking at Lamar Jackson, they're taking their eyes off of every other weapon that they quietly have assembled there. And so I agree. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. It probably will be a blowout, honestly. I think it's a close game.
I don't see it being a blowout.
I hope it's a close game.
The team,
because I will tell you what, we had 4 close games last week, and it was amazing. Listen, and it was great football to watch.
The teams that Baltimore has played that are good teams, where they've had to play teams with defenses, teams that can kind of match you defensively. They didn't put up a lot of points. I mean, you remember the Bills game, really tight. 49ers game, really tight. But they had some blowouts. I mean, they beat the Patriots pretty heavily. But I mean, they had a close game against the Steelers. They got blown out by the Browns. They lost to the Chiefs. If a team can slow them down, if you can slow Jackson down and you can contain him a bit, and you can keep the ball away from him, That is a recipe to win. The Bills would have beat them had they done a little more on offense. They just didn't do enough on offense.
Yes.
So, the 49ers just didn't do enough on offense. I mean, Jimmy G was just pedestrian in that game, but so was Lamar Jackson. He was 14 and 23 for 105 yards. He ran for 101, but he passed for 105. Like, that was one of his lowest outputs of the year. And the 49ers have a pretty good defense. So if the Titans, who have a pretty good defense, if they can slow him down and Henry can run like he did last week, it's going to be interesting. I think it'll be tight. I don't think it's going to be a huge blowout. I think that Baltimore has enough to win, but I wouldn't say it was like a huge shocking upset if Tennessee wins. Sometimes it's the hot team, and they seem to be the hot team right now.
That is very true.
They're on a roll.
Now Sunday's games are both of these games. I'm very much looking forward to seeing. Texans, Chiefs, Deshaun Watson, future Hall of Famer Patrick Mahomes. Who you got?
I got the Chiefs at home.
Yeah,
their defense has redeemed that team.
Yes,
the adding of Suggs was huge.
Yes,
I mean, they were already playing well and they were kind of coming into their own on that side of the ball, but adding Suggs and that veteran presence and a guy that has a chip on his shoulder on top of that's huge for them. And Mahomes is starting to get his groove back, and the offense is starting to move a little bit. The run game, minus Shady McCoy, has been, getting it done as well. So I don't know. I don't think that Houston has enough to beat Kansas City, especially at Arrowhead.
I would.
They barely had enough to win last week against the Buffalo Bills and their offense. At home.
I agree with you there. I have Kansas City as well, making it one step closer, Brandon, to my dream. So, of course, next, and obviously I know you're taking the Packers over Seattle, but I'm taking the Packers as well. Not because I think that they're the better team, which I think they are, but because, Brandon, my dream, this is like my Chris Berman's.
You want that rematch. It's your Chris Berman 49ers and Bills Super Bowl.
Chris Berman's 49ers and Bills Super Bowl. For me, Kansas City, Green Bay Packers Super Bowl one rematch.
100th year.
So that's why I have Sunday's games. And I'm telling you, if that is the Super Bowl, I know I'm going to be happy for an entirely different reason, because that's going to be my dream Super Bowl there. But it's going to be great. And Super Bowl, I have the kids that weekend, so I'll be having the Super Bowl at my house. So anyways, which you can come by unless you want to watch it at 4K probably. But
I don't even know if they're going to broadcast it in 4K.
Really? Why wouldn't they broadcast it in 4K?
They haven't in the past.
But this is the first year. Is it on Fox this year?
Yeah, I think it has it this year.
I think it's on Fox this year.
I mean, Fox could broadcast in 4K, but let's see if they do it. They had the opportunity to do it last year. NBC had it, right?
NBC had it last year, yes.
Yeah, if NBC was broadcasting Notre Dame's games every Sunday or every Saturday in 4K, so I can't see why they couldn't do it in the Super Bowl, but they didn't. So we'll see if they do it this year. It would be great if they did. I mean, I can't have
it will be
party.
I'm looking it up right now.
I don't have much living room, so
it says it's definitely on Fox. Mm-hmm. And the production, it says Fox will produce the game coverage and studio broadcast in 1080p, which will be up-converted to a 4K ultra-high-definition feed available through select pay TV providers and streaming devices, marking this the first time the Super Bowl has been in broadcast in 4K.
That's an upscale, though. That's not true 4K.
Yeah, I don't know. You and your buddy Robert are the experts on 4K, as far as I'm concerned. So.
Oh, Robert just is a ball buster.
I know that's.
I actually pay attention to it.
All right, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna take it home here, and next week we're gonna predict the conference championship winners. KC and Green Bay, in my opinion, but we'll see what happens after this round, and
put it in the bank,
and then we'll go from there. So thanks again for listening in to us here, wherever, whatever platform you listen to. And thanks for listening to our commercials that we have, because believe it or not, you going start to finish those commercials, beginning, middle, end, helps us out just as much as using shopgear.com does. Which
listen, man, just listen to the podcast all the way through.
Listen to it all the way
Don't
through.
Stop in the middle.
Turn the volume down when the commercials hit if you have to. If you don't want to hear the same loop of commercials, whether it's Wegmans or, I don't know, MVP Healthcare or whatever the hell is playing, or whatever now, just turn it down and just let it play out. Please, you'll be doing yourself very, very big self.
You don't stop in the middle of sex, so why would you stop in the middle of our podcast?
That's right. That's right.
I don't care if someone breaks into your house, you're still gonna finish.
You're gonna finish. All right, Jim. We're gonna end it. We're ending it here on the sex note there, Brandon. Good day to you, sir.
Good day to you.
So long, everybody. Good night. Now, Flava Flav, give me a yeah, boy, for sex.
Yeah, boy.
Hang on, one more thing before you go. Remember, listen to our sponsors following this podcast, as that does help this podcast and this network out in a way that we appreciate very, very much. So if you could just ride it out 30 to 60 more seconds after this podcast is over, listen to those commercials, it would be doing us a very, very big solid. And again, we thank you.
This has been a presentation of the Gear Radio Network. For more, log on to gearnetwork.com.